Hey, brassfacts here. You've likely seen this specific rifle over the last couple videos, so I figured I'd capstone it and explain exactly how I have it set up to be my night gun. I also dragged Hop to the top of a 5,000 foot mound of dirt. I'll show him mine if he shows me his.
What precisely is a night vision gun? For myself and Hop, night vision usage is a big part of our preparedness plan, and having a weapon designed around night fighting versus being capable of night fighting is a useful distinction to have. For the vast majority of people, one generalist rifle that is night vision capable is far more useful than having 3 different rifles that all specialize in a specific niche. So, when you do go after the concept of a semi-specialized rifle, it's important not to chase that specialization to its extreme. Yes, that rifle would be better in that specific niche. The reality of civilian rifle employment states that we don't really have the luxury of creating specialization to that level. We don't know what the scenario would bring, even if we do a lot of prepping, planning, and reconnaissance. That level of versatility is still required. So in this case, with the night vision gun, where we are chasing a semi-specialized gun, it's important not to go too deep and to put things on there that compromise the ability of that rifle to work as a fighting gun. The end result, you get a politician's answer in the form of a rifle. And these setups are only marginally different from most people's generalist setup. In fact, for some people, with the rise in popularity of high-rise mount, this may be their generalist setup. So, view this more as a thought experiment as we talk through what we specifically think makes sense on a night gun, and less of a, this is what a night gun is, because really, it's not all that different.
Just give me a mic check at whatever your normal speaking volume is.
Yeah, this is my rifle. There are many like it. Mine's better than Hobbs. Can put the bag there?
Yeah. Hey guys, we're sitting here on the side of a hill in the middle of the broad-ass daytime because what better opportunity to talk about night fighting guns?
Yeah, so ironically, recently in one of the videos we said night fighting guns might be one of the more niche applications or setups of AR-15s. So in typical Brock and Hop fashion, we have gone ahead and created a night fighting gun. Hop's on his 3rd iteration at this point. This is probably my 1st iteration. Once again, to reiterate, these aren't really the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd rifles we'd grab, but in the situation of, well, nighttime usage, which, at least for me, is a very prominent feature of my shit hit the fan preparedness, for the lack of a better term. So fuck it, we went ahead and created a rifle that is oriented towards that use cases. We'll just go through the parts and kind of discuss it and why we put those parts on the rifle.
Yeah, it's like the 3 to 4 components that you need to have on a nighttime oriented gun, and the things that most differentiate it between that and just a general purpose grab and go kind of rifle.
I think starting out, the laser is probably the laser illuminator, the MFAL, the LAM,
That's kind of the non-negotiable. Like,
yeah.
you can debate passive aiming, you can debate whether or not you need a suppressor for a nighttime gun. I don't think you can really argue the point about a laser designator, at the very least. Also an illuminator for sure.
Yeah. So I'll start with mine. So it's worth noting, I would love to have this guy on my main gun, but this one isn't mine. So it's a Raid XE. They're on the higher end of the pricing bracket. You can spend about $3,500 and then wait 2.5 years to get it, or you can buy one on tax swap for $5,000. I'm having this one on loan. I love this thing. It's great. I probably would never spend this much money unless I'm Grand Thumb rich. So with GunTube. So I'm just borrowing it. It's a really cool device. What I normally have on here is a US Night Vision DIRV. The reason is it's the most powerful V-cell laser I own right now, and it is, not only powerful, but it's actually fairly low on the gun, and I like the controls on it. It's the most intuitive laser control on the market, in my opinion, right now. So the combination of performance, the form factor, and the height lead me towards wanting that laser over anything else, like my full power A3 or a civilian powered system.
Yep. I mean, that's pretty much why I've got the D-Ball D2 on there, because the performance level is addictive. I mean, my preferred laser, just in terms of form factor, is still the classic D-Ball, like the I2 and the A3. The smaller boxes. They're way smaller, they're way lighter, but the civilian legal versions give up a huge amount of performance. The D2, I have no complaints about the performance. especially if you add on the Villain Weapon Systems diffuser cap. That gives you really fast access to the flood illumination. So it kind of gives you a lot of the capability that you would pay extra for if you wanted to go for a maul. It's not nearly as intuitive or as fast or as convenient, no, but you can leave the illuminator focused down, you get a really powerful, effective illuminator, and then you can flip over the cap and get a really wide illuminator. You don't have to spend a lot of time adjusting the dial. The form factor is not great. This thing weighs over 12 ounces. The activation button is on the rear and it's really tiny. And this, I don't have this set up with a pressure switch, so I'm forced to use that button on the rear. So not ideal in a lot of ways, but given that this is like about as much performance as you can really get, and you can get them for about $1,200, which is...
So this actually outperforms the DIRV because it's the same performance. You can focus this one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it seems, even though it's Steiner, it actually seems to be a little more robust than the US Night Vision DIRV.
Yep, yeah, this one's holding up just fine. So also I do like the ability to have a leaf.
Those are cool.
Backup iron sight on there. So yeah, it's fine. I hate it every time I pick up the gun, but then I love it every time I turn on the illuminator. So
it makes sense here on a night vision gun. If this was like a day gun and you had like an LPVO on it, yeah, this is good at night and you still want night vision performance, but my God, you'd be so pissed off every time you picked it up and spent the majority of the time during the day. That's why it leans towards night vision.
Yeah, I've seen D2s on suppressed SPRs and it just looks like madness to me, but hey.
Yeah, they go prone and the gun's instantly gonna go boink, boink, dent up your suppressor. Yeah, so cool stuff here. I don't have a tape switch because it kind of works here, and then on the DIRV I come in straight. Oh, what is this? Is this your favorite flashlight head on the market?
Oh yeah, I love me some Surefire Vampires. So my weapon light is the Vampire. I like the Surefire Vampire because I can safe the light, and I really like doing that because people will complain about like, oh, the Surefire tape switch is really easy to ND. They're all easy to ND. Get over it. So the theoretical use of this is to have it in white light mode during the day because you might need to illuminate some darkness at some point, but at nighttime you switch it over to the off position, and now it does not turn on with the button on the back. It doesn't turn on with the tape switch, and now it's a lot more safe. The actual IR function is not even secondary, tertiary at best.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you might be like, oh, I really need some bright flood illumination.
You can.
It's an option.
You can click it on an umbrella light and do some task stuff if your task light isn't really cooperating.
That's a bonus feature, but really the ability to just safe the light, and also it really helps that the white light component of a Vampire light performs better than the other basic Surefires, notwithstanding the new turbos. So yeah, I like Vampire lights. I hope they don't stop making them, but
it looks like they might.
Looks like they're just not gonna make them.
Yeah. No, I think that's cool because if you're entering a structure and you're like, I need some backup white light. If I need to go white light under nods, you click it over. It just gives you a lot of options that you don't have on a lot of other systems. It's ironic that the Vampire component or the Illuminator component is like the least relevant part of the fucking system.
Yep.
We both have the same end cap as well. Yeah. The
DS00 because it gives you the best lockup, or the best interface with the tape switches, so they don't flicker and go all.
Yeah, it's better than the DS00 or what is it? DS.
The UE07 tailcaps.
That's
really crappy.
Because you saw with mine, like I keep having to do this with it for some reason. It's kind of a piece of shit.
Yep.
Yeah, the button. Yeah, that's nice, I guess. But yeah, so I'm just running a. I mean, I should have probably gone that route, but I already had this light lying around. So I just have some Arasaka XT 0000 XTL head. So it's just your generic high throw light. It's cheap. It's not cheap at all. It's fucking expensive. And I just have it set up here. I have it on a Boboro mount, which is the inferior version. No, it's not that. It's the inferior version of, in my opinion, of the Surefire swivel thing. They both leave a lot to be desired. The issue with the Boboro one is there's actually movement in the mount itself, so if you push really hard you can actually move the light within the thing, which is moderately annoying. It works, it's fine. Probably this is one of the components on the rifle that I would actually change if I were to do it again. I'd probably go with a light like this, and then I would use the Surefire swivel mount, and I'd probably go with a one cell to save weight, because the light is honestly an ancillary function of a night gun to me. It's an emergency thing, it's a utility thing. I'm not really going white light with nods unless I have to.
And I guess probably the controversial topic is going to be optics, because...
And my backwards mounted unity.
Yeah, well, we just don't have to draw attention to that. But with the passive argument, no one seems to want to just give passive its appropriate place, I guess, in the lineup. Everybody's going to be like why even have a laser on there? It's going to get you killed. Other people are like, passive aiming is completely useless.
I think the answer is
passive
somewhere.
aiming is a good thing to have, but yeah, probably the people who are all in on passive aiming haven't really tried it in as many varied conditions as they should before they go ahead and just go all in on passive.
And the active people probably do this for a living against people that don't have night vision. So it's a little bit of a different utility against essentially other civilians, is what this is for.
It's sort of a children please, you're both just awful kind of scenario.
Yeah.
So you've got the best optic ever made.
For
eotech.
night vision and nothing else. No, I mean, that's not quite like that.
What else even matters at this point? So eotech EXPS 3-0.
Yep. I really want the 3- for perfect night vision usage. I would actually think the 3-1 that's been teased is even better, because the donut is really cool for daytime usage, gives you a lot of reference points. At nighttime, you want as little bullshit in your screen as possible so you can get as much information as possible. There are a lot of times with the eotech, donut of death under knots, where it's kind of just covering a lot of stuff and you're trying to see between the dot and the outer ring, and if you don't have the brightness right, it'll bloom a little bit. But it's still the best option on the market. I think the SIGs are kind of creeping up there though.
Yeah, the SIGs are good in a lot of ways. eotech still retains the granularity of the adjustment, and also the night vision mode switch is the most refined on the eotechs. So SIG is now adding in a night vision button, but it still doesn't have the same memory function. eotechs really are super slick for that.
Yeah.
But maybe you don't want to take that trade-off, because not only, you have an eotech, which is already one of the heavier optics, and you've added weight by putting a riser on it.
And a magnifier, a heavy magnifier. This weighs about as much as most LPVOs, and you can find LPVO setups that weigh actually a hair less than this, about 2 ounces less than this. I think this comes in at 22 ounces almost.
Yep.
If I remember. I'm going to get it wrong and someone's going to yell at me. So yeah, walk me through your setup.
So I've got an Aimpoint Micro T2 on a ScalarWorks mount, so I have a very light optic, and then by switching from a regular Aimpoint mount to a ScalarWorks 1.93 height, it's getting lighter. These mounts are still robust. They have almost perfect return to zero, which is kind of badass. And they get the optic up a little bit higher. So again, that's kind of important because we're using a fucking D2, so we need as much optic height as we can get.
To get over the large child you have strapped to the front of your gun.
Yeah, I've never had an issue shooting a lower 1/3 optic under night vision. It's not an issue that I've got because of the shape of my neck and shoulders or whatever. But it is certainly more comfortable and more intuitive with a taller optic. Plus the ability to clear a big fuck off lamb, always really nice. I don't like anything much higher than that. So I've tried the eotech on a riser before. I used an XPS3 on a Unity riser,
So that's
which is
lower, yeah.
pretty close to 1.93. Whereas when you put the EXPS3 on a Unity riser, you get more into the 2.2 or whatever, 2 plus.
2.26, yeah.
Yeah, and to me, that's awkward tall.
Yeah.
The benefits under night vision to me are very tenuous because I don't have a problem with lower 1/3. And then the impact in regular, just normal day shooting is frustrating. I think that's something you figured out with the magnifier. I don't have a magnifier. I could add one on here, but I know from experience that I don't like using tall magnifiers. So I kind of just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm running a 226 eotech. This was mostly just, I came out with an idea. I want to make a night gun. This was part of the concept. We get the optic as high as possible while still not being unusable in the daytime.
Cactus Skyscraper.
The
Goobers Enterprise mount.
Yeah, so those are great in certain scenarios, but the big issue...
The McCloy implement. $1,900 titanium canted 193.
Oh, Jesus. I can't believe that's a thing. Anyway, the whole point is I want to lean into night vision heavily.
I can't believe it's not a money laundering scam.
Yeah, but I want to... I want to still preserve some daytime performance. I think the 226 really straddles that pretty heavily, especially when you consider magnification in the mix. It works, yes, absolutely. I have a lot more time on higher mounts because the TP9 is a really high mount. That's 2.4 almost the way I have it set up. But that's also a much shorter length of pull. I have magnification on here because I'm a big magnification simp, and I can just flip it off if I want and, donate back to nature. And, there we go. And now it's really easy to use under night vision. Okay, I'll mention it because everyone keeps bringing it up. Why is this mount backwards? For starters, it's an omnidirectional mount. Shut up. But it's mounted backwards because I mounted it forward, and the eotech, you can see right here, actually bumps into the cutie thing, and it kept detaching and getting wedged underneath. So I moved the eotech back, and then it was hanging off the black, so I turned it around, and it also gets rid of the front hook because the sling is here that likes to get wrapped up. So that's why I did it. I'm still gonna get a million comments about this because I'm wrong and stupid.
Yep. Can I borrow this for a second?
That's donated to nature now. You can't have that.
Oh yeah. Ooh, whoa, whoa. Oh my God. Never mind. So, any particularly odd quirks about your gun? Like I would point out, I have an HRF Concepts magwell thingy, beveled magwell extender. That just makes it easier to hit that tiny target when you're doing a reload under nods.
That's true. That's a good point.
I
didn't consider that. Honestly, I like the idea of this. Like, if I'm perfectly indexed, reloading like this, you know, super easy. But a lot of times you're going to decide to go move under nods and stuff like that, and that fucks up your, you know, you basically create your own adventure and create a brand new reload.
It's also the difference between a magazine that you've got for say off a belt line, which is a beer can, where it's very
easy,
that
or
seems very intuitive, versus your one on a chest rig where it's got a lot of flap because it's taller in your hand. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it does kind of block or interfere with access to the ping pong paddle.
No, I don't have that problem.
This is a Munition Works, formerly Militia Works lower with the right side bolt drop button. Oh, it wouldn't matter for you because you're lefty. You just use your index finger regardless.
Especially as guns get dirty, like no one cares, right? I'm the only lefty on the internet aside from, you know, Jake from State Farm. Sorry, 1911 Syndicate. When the guns get really dirty, when you drop the bolt like this, you're actually coming in at a slight angle and you're sliding off of the lip of the bolt face, and it actually can cause malfunctions occasionally. I'm running a PWS on here. Thanks, by the way, PWS. I like that because I'm running 300 blackout, so I need gas adjustability, right? You're either going to be stupidly overgassed or you need gas adjustability if you want to run the full gambit of 300 blackout choices.
I have this Magpul hand stop. In theory, if I index off that Magpul hand stop, then my thumb falls under the button for the D2. In practice, the button is so small and so soft that if you're wearing gloves and it's cold outside, it's really hard to hit that thing on the first try, which is, I think, a pretty huge liability, something that is going to probably entice me to want to switch off from the D2.
To tie this off, because coming up with a closer in the field is actually really tough when you're tired from 4 days of consecutive shooting, and you're hungry, and it's windy. The best way to understand why these rifles are our night guns is to show off what a standard configured rifle is. While I still keep the night vision capability, some things get changed up to create a more generalist rifle that functions both day and night. I like passive aiming, and on a night vision gun that is absolutely a priority. But on a generalist rifle, I want a more versatile option, so that means ditching the eotech and riser combo and going for something like this L-can. Passive aiming is still on board, but it gets relegated to a, let's say, an inferior option with an RMR piggyback mounted. In Hobbs' case, he similarly mentioned he would run still a red dot, but maybe with a magnifier now, or just an LPVO. As mentioned in the video, he's also going to probably jettison that D2. It's a lot of chunk, and for a more versatile generalist rifle, it's probably going to generally go to something like a Steiner I2 9007 or maybe a full power pack or something. I would also move away from 300 blackout. Once again, this is a 300 blackout rifle, and 300 blackout has similar performance in many ways to 5.56, and it has the utility of being able to do subsonics and supersonics, which really feels at home in the niche of a night vision dominated gun. However, for a generalist rifle, the price, availability, weight, squad compatibility, close range performance, all that pushes me back to 5.56, as it's just simply better for a generalist rifle.
It's basically
They're still just guns.
yeah.
You're missing the grip.
Yeah, I took it out and then we broke the tool.
Nice.
Nice, amazing, very nice. I think it's time to eat some MREs. What do you think?
Yeah, delicious. No better place to do it than on the side of a mud hill.
All right, that's
Time to paranoia. Check the camera to see if it's been recording this whole time or not.
Oh, my ass hurts.